I'm about to give you a complete step-by-step guide on how you can start Amazon FBA wholesale from scratch and how you can actually generate yourself a consistent income monthly with Amazon FBA. Let's get straight into it. So first things first, what actually is Amazon FBA wholesale? Now, there's actually a misrepresentation of what Amazon wholesale is because it actually divides into two separate things. The first thing is that Amazon wholesale is just a term for essentially bulk buying. Not buying from retailers like Superdrug and Boots and so forth. Instead, you're buying from distributors. So people that sell in, big quantities and essentially are at the top of a supply chain, essentially. And the reason why I say it's blurred is because there's two different ways of doing Amazon wholesale. The first one is brand direct, which is buying from brands. And the second one is buying from wholesalers. Okay. So as you can see, if we go to the next slide, in order to do Amazon wholesale, you need to understand supply chain. And supply chain works like this. You have your manufacturers, then your distributors. So this distribution center here is your wholesalers. Then the retailer, I guess, is Amazon. And then the consumer is the consumer. Now, when you do Amazon wholesale, what you're trying to do is you're either buying from the distribution center via Amazon wholesale, or you buy directly from the manufacturer, which is Amazon brand direct. So that's how the two things differentiate. And how is one better than the other? Well, if you're obviously buying from the manufacturer, well, you're going to get better pricing, right? Because each time we go down this circle, the pricing increases because everyone needs to make money. Whereas obviously if you're doing wholesale, you're buying from this place rather than buying from this place. So obviously you're going to make less money, right? So that's the difference between the two. And, I'd say in terms of like brand direct and wholesale, where's it best? Well, brand direct, often you want to work with smaller or mid-tier brands, whereas with wholesale, you want to work with distributors when they're stocking big brands. So like Oral-B, for example, you're not going to be able to get brand direct with Oral-B or like Nivea or like Revlon and these types of places. So that's where then you do wholesale, and then brand direct's better for like smaller brands and so forth. Now, what are some common myths? You need 5K plus to start is a common myth. Now, why is this a myth? Well, you can actually start brand direct with about £1,000. A lot of brands, especially the small brands you work with, they only require that you spend maybe £500 with them. So you don't actually need that much money to start. With wholesale, you need a bit more. I'd say about 2K is great because that covers you for like learning, and then also for you to have money to spend on wholesalers. Wholesalers ask you to spend a lot of money. That's how it works. It's usually because wholesalers go off very low margin. They want you to spend a lot, whereas brands, they're very much about protecting their brands, so they're not too bothered. The next thing is you must be VAT registered. Again, that's not the case. You don't need to be VAT registered. You can explain to brands or even distributors that you're not. You need to run advertisements. You don't, again, because you're reselling branded items. Another myth, is it too saturated? Well, I think that's just an excuse for people who don't do well at things. They always blame saturation. Every business is technically saturated in that way. It is too risky. Again, no risk, no reward. And I don't have the space. We're going to cover later. You don't actually need the space because one concern may be if we're doing wholesale, we're dealing with loads and loads of boxes and big orders and loads of units, and we don't have the space. So that's another myth, and we're going to go through it. Now, what is some essential foundations? The first thing that's so important for you when you do Amazon wholesale is that, I'm going to call it Amazon wholesale, which includes brand direct and wholesale, by the way, is have a limited company. Why? Because brands or wholesalers, they won't work with you unless you have a limited company. So make sure you have that. Business bank account as well, and a website. A website is quite important. This is something that we go into a lot of detail in the mentorship about having a website as a sort of front, and this really does help when you're contacting brands and also wholesalers. A registered office is also quite good. You can get one which essentially gives you a virtual office address. It then makes your company seem a lot more professional. So the reason why these four things are so important, more because they present you as someone who is professional, and that's what brands want to see, that's what wholesalers want to see. And then software, you don't actually have to overcomplicate it. Seller Amp and Keeper is enough, again, for your software. And there may be like a software that tracks your profits, because if you're doing wholesale, you're dealing with a lot of items. It's going to be hard to manually track everything. So something like Seller Toolkit, and I'll put all these links in the descriptions. Capital, so I said about 2K, 1K, 2K is great. I mean, 2K I think is the best, because again, that leaves you enough for the last one, which is learning. I think Amazon wholesale is a game where there's a lot of knowledge, and I'm obviously going to share some with you here today, but certain things like which I'll go into that won't be revealed for free on here is why you do need mentoring for Amazon Wholesale. I did that myself. I got mentored for Amazon Wholesale, loads of different mentors. You can obviously try to do it yourself. I mean, one thing that I actually got quite lucky with was I actually spoke to a wholesaler that I knew, a family friend, and he actually taught me a lot about the wholesale game without me having to, I guess, get mentored. But then I still needed to know how Amazon worked, right? That's all it really is. It's more just understanding how Amazon platform works rather than wasting loads of time and even losing money doing that. So yeah, let's cover brand tiers now. So I mentioned a bit about working with different size brands. Now, a tier 1 brand is, like what I said, Oral-B, and then tier 2 brands are still brands that can be in supermarkets, so they still can be big brands. They may sell 1,000 times a month, 500 times a month on Amazon. These are also brands you can try and work with. And then tier 3 brands are quite like smaller brands, so a little bit less known, maybe sell 100 times a month, 50 times a month. And these are the types of brands that you want to work with, essentially. Now, how do you actually come across finding suppliers, all right? Now, how do you actually find suppliers for your products? Because when it comes to Amazon Wholesale, firstly, you need to actually find, a good product, and this is where we use Keeper. We use Keeper Product Finder to find good products. And then it's about finding the supplier, because with Amazon Wholesale, it's a flip compared to like the other models, where the other models is you find places to search for products and then you see if a product's good or not based on the price. Whereas with Wholesale and Brand Direct, you will never know the price until the very end. So you need to focusing on products that are going to be really, really good first, so they fit your criteria. For example, they have you're not going to know the profit margin, all those things. You want to focus on things like it being not too over competitive. But what you want to do, you want to find your products first. Now, once you find your products first, then you can start finding suppliers for that product, or find the brand first. Now, how do you find suppliers? One good way of finding suppliers is by using things like LinkedIn to network with certain people, leveraging contacts. That's another thing. And then obviously go into the brand directly. So for example, if you found a product and you thought it was good, go and find the brand's website and go and contact the brand directly. Okay. And this is going to help you obviously start to open up the suppliers and opportunities and things like that. Now, another way of finding suppliers when it comes to wholesalers is by attending in-person events. So things like trade shows are quite good. And that gives you opportunities to find suppliers as well. So these are kind of just some sort of generic overview methods of finding suppliers. Then when it actually comes to contacting them, this is where obviously you just want to stress to them that you're looking to buy their products in bulk in a simple way. And then you need to try and convince them to open up an account with you. So that goes on to kind of negotiation tips, which is, it's all about building relationships, Amazon Wholesale. It's all about building a relationship that's going to be long-term. Again, power of asking, always ask. So, when it comes to pricing, for example, always maybe ask for better pricing. Don't feel scared. Pitch yourself professionally as well. Learn how to speak. This isn't a game where you just sit behind a laptop, Amazon Wholesale and Amazon Brand Direct. It's a game where you actually may need to meet people. You need to speak to people. You need to put yourself out there. So this is why Amazon Wholesale is great, and you learn a lot of valuable skills, speaking skills, whereas doing the other models, you can sit behind your screen all day and rot away and just resell items. But this is way better in terms of actually building something meaningful, I think, because you're building like a wholesale business here. This can actually work and apply outside of Amazon, which is what gives you that power. Whereas buying stuff from Boots and reselling on Amazon is only going to work doing that on Amazon, and there's no longevity to that, in my opinion. This is something that can create longevity. Again, don't take the mick as well. Don't start asking wholesalers for, you're just going to place one order and you want best prices and you haven't even worked with them yet. Build up with them over time. The first few orders may be, a little bit lower profit, but over time you can actually get better profit. And then leveraging exclusivity for better margins. That's something I'll touch upon in another video, which is about having like brand contracts essentially. And then the main thing with Amazon Wholesale is test orders. Okay, now test orders is essentially the first order that you do. Now, the reason why you do a test order is because you're going to be selling products that you want to sell all year round, and also products that have other sellers on them who have been on there for a while. And also remember, you're going to commit to bigger quantities later down the line. So you always want to do a test order, which is showing that you're serious. Again, it's almost like a pilot study, so it's a little test. You can do all the analysis that you want, but you want to make sure that the product actually sells through. Quality control, making sure that the supplier is actually good. Is the supplier good? And are the products actually good? And they're in good condition. They're not broken. They're not arriving damaged. Again, it lowers your risk as well because remember, you're not placing massive orders. And with your test order, you're not really looking to make profit. If anything, you will kind of want to break even. And then understanding the system, understanding of what it takes to order, send into Amazon, and all of those things there. So essentially, that is the period that you go through, which is the cycle of Amazon wholesale and brand direct is find a good product or find a good brand, find the supplier, negotiate and contact the supplier, place a test order, and then scale up over time. That's literally how it works. So obviously, look, there's little bits in between that maybe I haven't mentioned, which is like how to actually find the supplier or certain methods we go through in the university of like 5-6 different methods of actually finding the suppliers. Same as what are the scripts that we use to actually contact them and increase the chances of getting accounts opened. These are all the things that we go through in there. But then lastly, keeping it open and honest with you guys is actually the gulag period, I call it, which is the difficult part, which is brands ignoring you, life gets in the way, test orders not being great. And the main thing here is that the grass is not always greener on the other side. You need to if you don't go through a period like this, you're in the wrong business. Things are always going to be tough. And the reason why things are tough is because that is what makes things valuable, right? The more brands that ignore you, the more test orders that you go through, remember, is a reminder of how many times other people have given up and quitted. And the fact that you keep going and you're resilient shows that over time, as you keep going through those barriers, there's something that's going to be there on the sort of end for you. And it's like gold is waiting at the end of it. That's my experience. That's loads of my students' experience. It's about volume. Wholesale is a volume game. You have to contact, with the students, we're contacting 50 brands a week minimum, 50 wholesalers a week minimum. If you're contacting 5 a week, of course you're not going to be successful. So that also then ties back about you need to be able to find enough as well. And then you need to be able to contact them efficiently so you're not wasting time. So this is why then I drew it back to having a proper strategy. It's a game that works but requires volume and it requires effort. But remember, it's long term. You're building something long term. You're building monthly income with this. You're getting relationships with brands or distributors that you kind of know. It's not that it's guaranteed, but you know that this is going to make you 2-3K a month for the next year potentially. Like it can be like that because you're going off data and you're buying products that aren't just accessible for everyone, right? So make sure you factor this in and you don't give up so easily. And in terms of giving up and what to expect and how it actually looks like, well, I'm going to pass on now to one of my students, Alex, who started with me and did Amazon wholesale, and we did sort of one-to-one, and he managed to do 90K revenue in 4 months. So he's going to take it away now about his experience, helping you guys with some advice on how to get started with Amazon wholesale, what it looks like, and how to be successful. So, hi everyone today. I'm excited to introduce Alex. And you might have seen him on TikTok as Alex FBA. And Alex was one of the students that came and started Amazon FBA, and he's absolutely smashed it in his first month, doing almost 25,000 in sales. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's about that.
Yes. 25,000 in sales, which is amazing. But I want to hear from you on your experiences, how you found everything, how the mentorship helped, for example, but how you yourself found and navigated through all of the challenges that exist with Amazon FBA and what advice you could give to new sellers. So just introduce yourself based on what I've said, or if you've got anything more to add.
Yeah, no, sweet. Thanks for having me, firstly, Zach. Yeah, my name's Alex. So I actually used to work for Amazon for a couple of years. Was doing a few side hustles and decided that I wanted to try and escape the 9 to 5. So yeah, took the plunge back in June and left my job and went all into FBA. So whilst I was sort of made that decision, I thought it was best to try and reach out, get as much knowledge as I could from other people. So I found Zach's page, really sort of enjoyed Zach's content, and I guess sort of transparency from someone who started as a beginner on FBA and then working their way up. And I really liked Zach's content. So yeah, dropped him a message, reached out. We did a bit of mentoring, didn't we, around sort of bit of OA, bit of wholesale. And I think for me it was great just to have yourself as like a sounding board for any of those like beginner questions and just those sort of tips that you might not have any idea as a beginner. And it definitely helped me. And then in terms of my own journey, I think, yeah, like first month is gone much better than I thought. Obviously, 25,000, it's a really good number first month. I think my advice would be, I guess, like for me, I think my preparation phase before ordering was a massive part of it. So like reaching out to yourself, doing that mentoring with you, Zach, not only with yourself, but with I had one other for a slightly different side of Amazon, and then also just sort of absorbing much content as I could and really practicing sourcing and nailing the process before placing that first order. I think was a massive thing. I think sometimes you can rush into it as a beginner seller, you can make mistakes, whereas actually taking that caution, taking that step back and just holding off for a bit can definitely then, sort of have its benefit later down the line. I think like second bit of advice would be, look, everyone has different points of capital they start with, and it is all relevant, but I think it's about being comfortable to part with your capital as well. And almost, yeah, see it as money, see it as numbers, but you're sort of following a process. So if you're having to spend, a few thousand on stock, as long as you've done the research and it's well thought through, and the data's there behind it, don't get too bothered about parting with that 2000, become comfortable with that. And I think that's where you then see that growth.
In terms of obviously your confidence at the start. So we've got, let's say, a seller who hasn't even started at Amazon FBA yet, a seller
Yeah.
who's just come across this page, for example, or even a seller who's looking to scale. How did sort of was it down to the mentoring that gave you that confidence to think, okay, all I need to do now is just apply what I've learned and kind of give it a go? Or was it sort of just you knowing yourself that you can make it work, or a bit
I,
of both?
I think, yeah, definitely like a bit of both. I think FBA from an outsider perspective, when you first start, probably seems really complex in terms of everything that goes into it. But I think the process that obviously successful sellers like yourself do and other people follow, the process is actually like fairly simple. You've just got to sort of put the time in to learn it and have the practice. So I think, yeah, definitely the mentoring 100% helped me learn that process. But a big part of it was just the self-belief.
Yeah, definitely
Yeah.
self-belief, confidence, and then having that. What was actually your first goal with FBA? Obviously, you did 25,000. What did you actually want to do in your first month?
First month, my first, I probably expected, I think for the capital I was putting in, maybe like 4, 5 thousand. And even that I think was in my head was a bit of a stretch target. So today, yeah, to do what I did first month was crazy. And like it's worth noting, obviously, like there was still some mistakes in there, like that 25,000. I think it came out at around sort of 12% margin, which is lower than what my target was, but it's good because almost I've made some mistakes within that I'll never do again, or it's going to improve my sourcing and my sort of my purchases next time. So then hopefully that future months, even though it could be a similar sales volume, is actually better for my business.
Wholesale or online arbitrage? If you would have to give advice to a new seller, what would you choose?
I think again, it's all sort of relevant to the person starting and how much you've got to invest into FBA. Personally, I think if you've got the sort of 500 £1,000 mark, definitely start with OA. I think it really gives you like a good sort of sense of selling on Amazon, the process of sending it in, sort of adding listings to your inventory. You get a feel for Amazon just as much as you do from starting out with wholesale, but obviously the risk to your capital is a lot less. Um, what I would say, if capital's no object, or you grow your OA pot to a point where you feel like you can invest more, personally, I would go with wholesale because you have less risk of the price tanking. It feels more long term and more strategic when you find a decent product and build a relationship with a brand up. It's something that potentially after a test order you can just carry on reordering. And it effectively becomes hands off the wheel, which I don't really think with OA it can ever be hands off the wheel because you're constantly having to source.
But
Whereas
yeah,
with wholesale, you do, but you almost can, once you've found that winning lead or that winning supplier, it's a case of putting it to the side. Yeah, being proactive with your reordering, but then you can focus your attention elsewhere.
yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's really good, and it's great that you did really well in your first month, and hopefully there's more to come, and there's more levels to the game with Amazon, as you know, there's always more to do. But yeah, just to sum up your experience based in SS University. How would you sum it up just to finish off?
Yeah, honestly, it's been great. Like for anyone sort of contemplating joining, and I know there's a lot of people out there on the platforms that sort of offer some sort of mentoring or closed off group. And I think from my experience, Zach's group is great for just like being completely transparent, completely open. No one's sort of like gatekeeping tips and tricks. Like everyone's really open from their learnings. And as a beginner, you just need that. You need that platform where you can ask those questions that we all asked when we first started and get, a really, really constructive feedback sort of
I
pipeline.
mean, you've done so well. It's a case of actually kind of joining my sort of journey as well. And that's what I like as well. The fact that you've done so well. I'm not going to kind of keep you as a student. It's like, okay, Alex is ready to go on to the
Yeah,
big
100%.
work as a team, which is always what I want to build like a massive community. People are growing together, people are learning together, and
Yeah, 100%.
there's enough for everyone. Yeah.
And I think as well, like some groups, they can be very much like, you pay your membership fee and the people who run it or the people who put the content out there aren't really too involved. It's sort of like, oh, visit this guide or watch this, and they sort of brush you off in a way. And they don't really want to get to know you as a person. Whereas yourself, Zach, like no, you like you said, you've always sort of been interested to like grow with your community. And like you've just said, I think me and you potentially can sort of start working together now because we know how each other works. You know that my sourcing method comes from yourself, so it's like it's a two-way sort of like working relationship. And I think with FBA, building your network is a really important part. So that community is brilliant for that.
And last one, how would you sum up how FBA has almost changed your life? I mean, it's a strong word, change your life, but if you really do think about it, you're sitting here now in Portugal rather than working for Amazon. So how would you kind of sum up just quickly how FBA has actually had a positive or negative impact on your life?
Yeah, 100%. So I think I'm still a long way off where I want to be with FBA. However, I have to remind myself I've only been doing it for a couple of months, and to be where I'm at now and feel like I have the freedom to work from wherever I want when I want with this business model, and see the output from that input. I think with FBA, it's like any business, but FBA especially, like the more you put in, the more you get out. And I think that's what I'm seeing now. And it feels so rewarding compared to something like, my last 9 to 5, where you don't necessarily see that. And doing it for yourself is an amazing feeling. So yeah, anyone contemplating starting, even as a side hustle and then eventually leaving, just do it. It's the best decision I've made.
Well, thank you, Alex, for sharing your journey. And yeah, we hope that you continue moving on to bigger and better things and hitting that 100K in sales a month mark when I'll kind of get you on a call again. But yeah,
Yeah, cheers, and yeah, thanks again for obviously all your help with it. Yeah, anyone watching, definitely reach out to Zach. He's top man. He knows his stuff.
perfect. Thank you very much. Yeah, so following on from what Alex said, another part is automation. And I'm going to go through this in a separate YouTube video, but essentially, scaling your Amazon wholesale business involves you outsourcing to a prep center, which is basically where when you order your items from the supplier, it doesn't go to you. It goes to a center, they pack it, prep it, and send it to Amazon. Now, especially when you're dealing with big volumes and big orders, you won't have time to be packing this stuff. You want to focus on finding more brands, finding more suppliers. And similarly, virtual assistants. Virtual assistants are essentially employees you get from the Philippines. They work 4 or 8 hours for you every single day at a very, very cheap rate compared to someone in the UK. And if they're trained properly, where you can get them from agencies who train them to basically have as good of a knowledge as you, they can help you find the suppliers, they can help you contact them, they can help you go through the prices and negotiate and all these things. So that's another way that you can automate your business. Now, just to finish off, we've got a student. Now, Alex obviously did Amazon wholesale. How about someone who did brand direct, and how did they do with brand direct? So I'm going to pass on now to my student Finn, and he's going to go through how he managed to be successful and get a $1 billion brand deal with a brand on Amazon, how he did it, and how you guys can learn from his experience. Welcome back, everyone. Today we've got another student testimonial. Today I'm joined with one of my guys, Finn, who essentially joined with us this about, I think it was May time. We joined around then. We started and we did brand direct together and wholesale, and we're going to be doing a few other things together because we're working till almost till the end of the year. But he's already picked things up really fast and had a really, really good run. Credit to him and his hard work, and he's going to share to us his journey and how it essentially he's got on. So yeah, Finn, thanks for joining us today. And yeah, man, let us know a little bit about firstly your journey before starting with us and what that was like before because you were selling on Amazon before, right?
The journey before finding you guys was I felt a bit trapped when I was doing online arbitrage, and I I was making okay money, but I wanted to scale up to the next level. And thanks to you, you helped me.
Yeah, so obviously you were struggling with online arbitrage. What was it mainly? Was it like finding products? Was it like just the scalability? What was it with it?
It was more like finding the products online for the right price to be profitable. It took too much time and it was a bit long, and I wasn't really scaling up enough as what I wanted to be.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's something that like a lot of new sellers struggle with for sure with the like online arbitrage side of things. So yeah, and then obviously yeah, you hopped on a call with me and then we spoke a little bit about like what we were gonna do. How was the process? So like if you were to explain to someone like how we went from basically nothing to then doing with the brand, like what did we go through? Like how did you find all of that as well?
Yeah, no, the process was so smooth. It was so easy. I really enjoyed the calls because you opened my mind up to like something completely new. And the way that you helped me call brands direct completely changed everything for me.
Yeah, and we did it through Keeper. You picked out very fast as well, like when we went through everything. And I think within like how long was it until we sort of got the first brand opened? It was pretty quick, right?
Yeah, probably in the first month.
Yeah, straight
Yeah,
away.
I think in the first month I had three brands open. I had people come to my house to sign papers, to get brands done. Yeah, it was sick.
Yeah. Yeah, no, 100%. And in terms of obviously those achievements and some of the progress that was made very early on, to be fair to you, credit to you as well for putting in that work. I remember you messaging me like all the time, like, loads of questions calling me. I was like, yeah, keep going. How did you mentioned obviously three brands? What was sort of was the size of the brands and what did you end up getting out of those ones? Because you got one account open with someone I couldn't even myself.
Yeah, now one of the brands that opened, they are one of the biggest brands, and I've sold about 400 or 500 units with them in quite quick
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. Amazing, man.
That's just only one of the brands. Right now, I've got about three, four brands open, and we're looking to scale more. But if it weren't for you, the way you got me to call these people it changed everything, man.
Yeah, and obviously the little thing about getting people to your house, the
Yeah,
little
man.
as well, because a lot of people don't do that, but we'll have to keep that one under the wraps. But yeah, like what just to finish off, man, what advice would you give to someone new? Or for you to be fair, you were already selling. So let's sort of give advice to people who are already selling. Maybe that they're doing online arbitrage. What's the advice for them? Based on your experience of doing brand direct, doing wholesale, what would you say to them?
You should definitely start wholesale. It's more scalable. Like for me, my lifestyle was never really in the same place all the time. So when you have these brands you can work with, you can get your unit, send it off, you order in bulk. You have a lot of units. Well, you can just leave them
Yes.
there and they'll sell while you do whatever you want to do. And it's more scalable. And yeah, like I said, it is probably a lot more easier than OA and it's a lot more funner for sure.
Yeah, I think definitely for like people who have got other things going on for them, I feel like online arbitrage requires you to source constantly. Whereas brand direct, you can smash out like 1 month of serious work, get serious amounts of accounts opened, and then kind of just take it. Yeah, yeah,
So, for example, me, I was smashing out, just finding brands, calling brands for a whole month straight. And then from June till literally now, I've just been letting the product sell
and
and
it's
just
oh yeah,
it's been fighting. You can tell by my voice.
yeah.
It's gone.
That's
But
the that's
now it's time to lock in. September's coming up. It's time to lock in.
Yeah, 100%, man. Obviously, look, you had money coming in without doing any work. Whereas online arbitrage, as much as it's good, is we're gonna do it during Christmas because it's Christmas. But
Yeah.
all year round, it's like if you're not sourcing, you're not making no money, right? So good thing with brand direct, you get your brand accounts open, you're just reordering, and that's why I did it as well. And yeah, 100%, I think for people who've got capital, maybe like 2K plus, it's good to get involved.
People think you need a lot of money. You don't need that much. So as soon as you get your first brand open, from there, it's just reinvest, scale up, reinvest, keep scaling all the way. But I would definitely recommend getting a mentor
Yeah, I was
because,
gonna ask you about that. Yeah, how did you find all of that?
yeah, like I said before, if it weren't for Zach, bro, the way he changed made me change on them phone calls. you need to get a mentor, and it's good to have these calls every couple of weeks so often. So
Yeah, 100%, man. Just keeps you going as well. But yeah, Finn, thanks for your time today, man. And I wish you all the best for sure.
thank you, man. Thank you.
So yeah, I hope you enjoyed those interviews as well and took some inspiration from these guys. Now, what's the next steps for you? Begin crafting a strategy, okay? Go through this video and write out step by step what it is that you need to do for Amazon Wholesale. Do you have the capital ready? Do you have the knowledge ready? Do you have an understanding of what it is? Do you actually want to get involved in this? Is this a business model that you like? And if so, then you know exactly what you need to do. Get involved in the university, learn how Amazon Wholesale works in practice, either through one-to-one or through group coaching, because it is a game that takes a long time and you can speed it up with the right system. And like Finn and like Alex and other people as well, you just need that system given to you and gone through effectively. Now, if you can't do that, you haven't got the capital, or you just want to do it yourself, well then I hope this video has helped you get a better understanding and give you something at least to craft yourself and for you to figure out where it is that you need to go. I've given you the blueprint. You can now kind of go after how to find suppliers and maybe go and hunt down a way. Obviously, it will take you some extra time, but it can be done. So thank you everyone for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you soon.